The ActiveIQ reference architecture is really a practitioner's view of how ActiveIQ is being implemented on the data fabric platform or the data fabric architecture. There's really two parts to this reference architecture. One part of the architecture is to how ActiveIQ is sort of taking the data from the edge, right, which is all the devices that are sitting out there, sending us back data, how we kind of receive that data ingested. The other part of the architecture is the core, right, which is once all this data comes in, what do we do with it, right? So, and the key component within the core is a representation called the data lake, right? And then once you have that collection of that data within the data lake, what you do with that data is the analytics and what we're now referring to is more of the AI and the ML, right? And that part happens in the cloud, right? So one way to kind of look at this reference architecture is sort of the edge, right? The core and the cloud, right? That's sort of how this reference architecture is being built. The other part of this reference architecture is sort of the variety and the velocity of the data, right? So we're getting all this data, and then you get all sorts of different kinds of data, right? We get data that's real-time data. What do I mean by real-time data? What I really mean by real-time data is things that we need to act upon very, very fast, right? Things that we need to take action on. Then you have data which is more batch data. Things like, you know what, we need to do a little bit more historical analysis on. And then the other kind of data, which is more backup data, which is we've done our analysis on it, and then we're going to kind of go back and store that. So if you kind of look at these three kinds of, or the three varieties of data, that's all being stored on the NetApp data fabric architecture, right? We use the endpoints of the NetApp data fabric architecture to tier our different data sources out. So that happens at the core. And then what happens beyond that is we're leveraging the capabilities of the cloud, things like AI and machine learning. So we don't have to go back and reinvent the wheel again, right? Because if the beauty of the public cloud is there's been a lot of innovation. These guys have spent billions of dollars, years worth of work in building these public cloud services out for us. So how do we really leverage those capabilities in the public cloud and imply those on our data to drive more value for NetApp, right? So in part, the reason why we're so excited about this reference architecture is number one, it's a sort of representation of how do you really build AI and ML capabilities on Data Fabric 2.0. And number two, we are sort of the practitioners, the real world example of how this gets implemented.
Our team has been very excited in building ActiveIQ using the NetApp data fabric and the hybrid cloud architecture. We get a lot of goodness from the hybrid cloud and the NetApp data fabric architecture. The reasons are as follows. One is that we are able to use the innovations which are in the cloud for getting all the technological innovations, for example, all the capabilities that we have put out as part of ActiveIQ with respect to notifications, with respect to voice and the API services. We get that out of box in the cloud, where we are able to deliver these services very quickly as part of ActiveIQ. And as part of machine learning algorithms itself, we are able to get these out of box as well from the cloud, where we are able to experiment very quickly, try out new algorithms, figure out which are the best for our analytical services, and get them delivered in cloud. And the way our team has built this particular platform, it is microservices based. And we are able to get a whole lot of agility as part of this architecture, because anytime we want to build a new analytical service, we can build it as a microservice and host it into the cloud very quickly. In addition to the elasticity that cloud offers to us over the traditional architectures, where we are able to scale up or scale down based on our compute needs, we get all these technological innovations, because of which we are able to quickly innovate into the ActiveIQ space and deliver these new capabilities very quickly, whether it is notifications, whether it is voice, whether it is API services. And with respect to NetApp Data Fabric, it's the key component. And the reason is we have seen in our use cases that we leverage mostly a 1 year worth of data for most of our use cases. We are able to use NetApp Data Fabric, the Fabric Pools technology for tiering our cold data to either cloud or the storage grid so that we can work with the data that we need to. We are able to use AFF for making sure that we get the most efficiencies and lower the TCO, the total cost of ownership for us. And my team is very excited in ActiveIQ because with all the innovations which are happening within the NetApp Data Fabric as well as the hybrid cloud, we are first able to learn new capabilities, build new platform, and bring in new concepts and new innovations to our customers.
There's a lot of excitement, not only for our customers, but also our field and sales organization. And I'll tell you, there's really three things that they're excited about. Number one is sort of the business value around this reference architecture. Us, within the ActiveIQ team, we've saved close to about $1.5 million worth of operating expenses, right, by moving towards this reference architecture. We've been able to do things in a matter of minutes when before it would take us days and months, right? And the third thing is the flexibility of this reference architecture, right? So right now we're using it for log data, more telemetry data, but you can easily apply this reference architecture toward things like IoT, right? Where we're talking to customers about self-driving cars, right? They're sending back data to their platforms, and they're saying, hey, how do we really scale this data out? And they're looking at this reference architecture and saying, wow, this is something that they can use. We're talking to customers about digital medical devices that are sending back data. We're talking to customers about retail banks, right? They're saying they're merging different assets together, different entities, different data centers. How do we sort of consolidate their architectures? And they're looking at this reference architecture. So the number of use cases that our field organizations can use to apply on this reference architecture are enormous. So number one, the business benefit, tremendous cost savings. Number two, agility. And number three, the flexibility of the architecture that we can apply to many different use cases.
We talked about cloud and the technologies which are provided by cloud. We have ActiveIQ Mobile, which gives all these insights on the go. We have ActiveIQ Voice, where we can customers can drive the whole experience via voice commands. In order for us to deliver these innovations to our customers very quickly, we want to make sure that we have the fundamental technologies which would be robust and which would scale with the needs of the customers. And this is where we have used the innovations from the clouds. For example, for notifications, we have used innovations which are provided by cloud as the underlying technology for building the notification functionality within mobile. Similarly, for voice capabilities, there are already capabilities within cloud, so we have built based on that. With respect to AI and ML, if we want to provide more about the machine learning and AI, given the 200 billion data points that we collect at NetApp on a daily basis from around 300K devices all over the world, AI is where we are using all these different algorithms. There are different packages provided by the cloud vendors or the hyperscalers, which we can use to experiment and see how we can derive these insights from these different 200 billion data points for providing valuable insights to our customers. That's where we use the machine learning packages offered by the hyperscalers themselves, so that we don't have to build them on our own, but we can go and experiment with these different algorithms which are already provided to us to see which fits best for our particular use case. And we are able to build these services very quickly within less than a week rather than multi-months. So this is how we are driving innovation using the cloud, the mobile, and also the AI and ML, which is being provided to provide the value to our customers on an ongoing basis and to simplify the customer experience with different form factors.
For our channel partners, one of the biggest benefits with this reference architecture is the opportunity to build services, around this reference architecture. If you think about this reference architecture as a solution that kind of has multitude of different bleeding edge components to it. It's got elements of big data. It has elements of AI, machine learning. It has elements of data processing. So if you think about that entire sort of life cycle, and if I'm a channel provider or if I'm a services integration partner, I can build planning services around this where I can look at total cost of ownership. I can build implementation services around this where I can go out and assess what kind of flavor of this architecture that I can implement for our customers, right? There could be a flavor for a specific vertical. It could be a flavor for a specific set of use cases. And on top of it, I can also implement AI and machine learning capabilities by building, it's sort of like a building block, that I can use to provide services like managed services on top of my existing platforms, right? So it really opens up a plethora of opportunities for our channels and system integrators partners to build services on top of.